Ciao ragazzi, we are back with another edition of Serie Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast of Calcio told like it is. I'm Frank Crivello. With me as always, Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. How we doing on this weekday night, I guess? Well, not a weekend
we're on video. I like that little hand gesture. That's almost in the the arena of a Larry Zabisco back in the day. I think what he did with the finger and just went like that or something like that. Yeah. So well played.
Yeah.
Doing all right. Congratulations. The Milan Weekly Pod guys like you more than they like me. They put you on a video. They call my cell phone, even though I'm like part of a historic first for them doing live presidential points, but I get it.
Those guys are a lot of fun, man. They're so much fun. And I had to take some shots at you, but I took shots at I really riled them up with my questions. I really got them fired up. So I know the people who are watching in on that were loving that.
I got your favorite beer again.
Nice.
Be able to help this.
You put over your face. Put over your face. There you go.
It's like it's a reflection. There it is. The Nuglaris Spotted Cow.
Spotted Cow.
Nuglaris Brewing Company Spotted Cow. So
I'm drinking
only sold in Wisconsin. You're drinking coffee this late at night?
It doesn't affect me. It doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, I just like warm. So it keeps me warm. That's all.
Oh, okay. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it this late at night unless I'm putting in a little booze. So and if it's decaf. So no, I'll get my fill of coffee in the morning. I think I had this conversation with Alex Dono. It was like 2 cups of coffee or 3 cups of coffee. Where do you stand on this? And I said usually 2. I'll go to a third if I really need it, but I usually can be done with. I usually can be done at 2. So
2 or 3 in the morning for me, and then maybe 1 evening just to slow down for the night.
Yep, indeed. So, it's coffee in the morning, booze in the evening to get to sleep. So,
sounds about right.
There you go. The world keeps spinning. So, we're gonna have some Calcio before we know it. Yeah.
It's just around the corner. We get to see Bundesliga first on the pitch, and then we're supposed to be coming around the corner just another side of June, huh?
Yeah, as we understand that the FIGC gave Serie the go-ahead to resume team training on May 18th, and the target date for resuming games in Serie is June 13th. This would give them enough of a window to complete the 12-plus match weeks that are remaining. Some teams have 13 left, as well as the Coppa Italia matches, and get all that completed prior to the UEFA Champions League and the UEFA Europa League picking up, which is what UEFA's protocol was. Malago, who is the CONI president, is optimistic about the championship resumption date. There is some challenge between the doctors and the CTS and some clubs in particular. Lots of talk about the protocol for resuming. The interesting thing that I think that everybody's fighting right now is Germany's protocol is different. If one player tests positive, they quarantine that player, right? And the rest of the team carries on. If Italy right now is playing this a lot harder. If one player tests positive, the whole team quarantines for 15 days. And that's going to be a logistical nightmare trying to get the matches rescheduled, getting them back in training. 7 clubs, including the big clubs, have said, we want to do what Germany's doing or else we're not training. So got a couple days, to get this figured out. Do you think they'll do it?
I really hope so. And I think what they're probably going to do is wait for the Bundesliga start to see how that works. I was really curious on what all the protocols were in Germany, and luckily I got to interview Ronan Murphy from Goal.com. He really had great insight on that. And, like you said, if a player tests positive, then, he's going to quarantine himself for, 10, 14 days, and the rest of the team will resume. They're allowed 5 substitutes in all the leagues now in Europe for the remainder of the season. And the reason for that is that they can bench that guy for 10 days and bring on someone else, and you're going to see a heavy rotation. That makes sense to me, as opposed to what Serie A wants to do and quarantine the whole team, because, like you said, it's going to be a logistical nightmare trying to reschedule all these games. It's already going to end late enough, and you have 1, 2, 3 teams that have to quarantine. you're going to postpone the season big time, and it's going to be crazy. Now, I think that what they should do is wait for the Bundesliga, watch how it works, hopefully well this weekend, and then decide to change it to that.
I agree with that. Now, Dynamo Dresden is having a bit of an issue, and I think they're in the Bundesliga too.
The Bundesliga, right?
And their team's actually in quarantine, and it sounds like they're not going to get to start at the same time as everybody else's.
Correct.
What is it? I mean, why is their situation different? Is it just because they have a big breakout throughout the whole squad? You cover Bundesliga as well as you're a Schalkeaholic. So did you? I don't know. I don't even know if that's a thing. If people call you. It is now? Okay. So I just invented something for Schalke supporters.
Right.
Great.
Right.
So you're a Schalkeaholic, so you have some Bundesliga knowledge, and I would imagine you have some too Bundesliga knowledge. So share with us, the situation with Dynamo Dresden and, the hazard that could possibly come up with a team like that.
So my understanding at the beginning was that a few players had broken out, and so the team took extra precaution to do that. Speaking with Ronan Murphy, like I said, he said that the team is really nervous about starting back up, and it's really they want to make sure that no one has it and they quarantine themselves. It doesn't spread beyond the one or two players that has it. So they're going the extra measure to make sure that they're all good and they can resume. So like you said, they're going to miss for sure one game, if not two games, at the beginning of the season to start because everything starts back up this Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, and it's in a case like that, if it's one team and it's just trying to push games a little bit further down the line, what you're hoping for is whether it's Bundesliga, whether it's Serie A, Premier League is given the go ahead to resume games in June. There's a lot of discussion right now with the clubs trying to come to an agreement on how everything is going to work, as far as what I've read. So, given that. It's going to be interesting if multiple teams end up having some sort of an outbreak. I think you're going to see these leagues really, really walking on eggshells trying to get this thing done.
Yeah. And, there are some players obviously in all the leagues that, are against this. I do know like in terms of the Bundesliga, there's 3 players that got it at Cologne. And so those players are going to be quarantining themselves, but not the whole team, which I think is the way it should be done. And I'm curious, Italy's going to be the interesting one because they were the hotspot of Europe, really, and
right.
Especially like Atalanta and Brescia and those clubs up there in northern Italy. To see, if any of those players got it. I know Fiorentina had a little bit of a mini outbreak there, so yeah, we'll see what happens in the next few days. Is going to be interesting because I think if they do go with that, quarantine the whole team, it's going to be a nightmare for the end of the season here. And those teams that are involved in Champions League, if they continue to go further, it's going to impact them big time too.
Sure. I think that there's obviously a few days here to negotiate before that target date of team training resuming on May 18th. Keep an eye on what goes on with those Bundesliga games. The clubs will continue to negotiate to get something to everybody's satisfaction. Let's move on to some other current events and a decision here that Corriere dello Sport is reporting, among others. Andrea Barzagli is leaving Juventus. He communicated farewell to Sarri and the staff for personal reasons, has made the decision that he wants to spend more time with his family. Barzagli is probably when you talk about the 3 tenors, you're trying to figure out who's that third tenor that nobody really spends a lot of time talking about. It's probably Carreras. When you have the BBC, Barzagli is that other guy. Yeah. And a lot of this, I think, has to do with the fact that, he bounced at a couple of different clubs before he finally landed at Juventus and became part of Antonio Conte's plans. I mean, if there ever was a late bloomer as far as having an impact, where he had an impact in his career, it's Andrea Barzagli.
It has to be 100%. I mean, full credit goes to not only Barzagli for, just blooming the way he did, but Conte, he had a humongous effect on him in his career. And really, I think what he learned under Conte, he was able to adapt there on forward. Yeah, you had Allegri and some great managers after that, but you still got to play well. Besides, it can't be all the manager. And Barzagli turned into one of the top defenders, and that back unit of the BBC, they were the best unit in Europe for many years. So a lot of credit goes to Conte, obviously, and Allegri, but Barzagli for sticking through it. had some difficult years and eventually found his footing and was a solid defender.
Yeah, for sure. How would you rate his time at Wolfsburg?
Not very good. If I was given a rating out of 10, I'd probably say like a 6, honestly.
Okay.
Honestly.
I mean, it's really when he got under Antonio Conte's wing is when it really took off for him.
Yeah.
Just later on in his career. Quietly effective is probably the best way I would describe his game.
Yeah.
He didn't stand out. And sometimes when you're talking about center backs, you don't want them to stand out, because if they're standing out for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
So there's only a handful of players these days that are playing that position that you can take a look at and say, if they're that are standing out for the right reasons. A Koulibaly, a Virgil van Dijk for Liverpool. And God, I'm so sick of Liverpool fans talking about Virgil van Dijk in the same breath as guys like Maldini and Nesta. But just stop. He's good. He's not that good.
And he hasn't had many years. He needs many more years to be considered in the same breath as any of those guys.
Exactly. Don't get me wrong. I rate him, but don't even get him close to that category. He's not in the team. He's not even in the team picture yet. Koulibaly's not in that team picture yet either, but they're very, very good defenders.
Yeah.
So, Barzagli was one of those guys that was just quietly effective in terms of going about his business. Could play the right side of a back three, could play as a right fullback when needed. I mean, and he's exactly the kind of, team player that you want. He's not going to be your star, but he's going to play a role for you. And I think that he carved out a very good career, especially late on with Juventus and then with the Italian national team in spots. Yeah. And especially under Conte.
Oh, 100%. And, he carved himself out a really nice career. And honestly, with what he did under Juventus, people are just going to forget what he did prior to that, honestly. And it doesn't really matter because how good he was at Juventus or is at Juventus. And so, good for him. If he wants to go, if you want to put the family first, I'm fully behind that.
Yep. Indeed. Another interesting Cordieri piece was Ibra leaving a message. Welcome back, Ibra. Quote, God has returned and is watching you from above.
I love that guy.
That man is a that man is a wonder of the modern world. There's just no getting around that. He said that on Instagram.
People either love him or hate him, and I can see why by both ends, but I love him. Anyone who's had him on his on their team for any time of period, love him. So
yep. He was he was in rare form upon returning to the country. So it didn't take him very long, did it?
No.
Let's segue into Milan from that because it's been well discussed. It's been relatively public. There's a lot of stories going on right now with Ralf Rangnick, Milan, Paolo Maldini. It's kind of becoming an interesting off the field quarantine soap opera for sure, a telenovela. Stories that Gazidis has been given the all clear and oh damn it, who's the other fellow that's with him in there? The fellow with the glasses. Scaroni.
Yes.
Scaroni, yes. So he and Gazidis apparently have been given the green light to go ahead with bringing Ralf Rangnick on board and allowing Ralf Rangnick to hire 18 to 20 people.
Staff? Are you talking about staff?
Staff, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And giving him the power to do that. So Rangnick has spoken about Milan in certain publications, and that has drawn the ire of Paolo Maldini, who, guess what? He's still employed there.
Yeah.
And Maldini has even said things to the effect of, well, before you learn Italian, learn respect. So it's all interesting. Is this going to happen?
Which part?
Rangnick are we basically is this just one of the worst kept secrets, and that Rangnick is going to take over Milan after this season is finished?
He better, because Milan's gonna lose a lot of credibility with all this chatter, especially coming from the higher ups about Rangnick, and it's gonna hurt a lot of people if he doesn't with believing them with anything. So I think it is gonna happen. And the other part is it's becoming very clear, very obvious that Maldini's not be part of this picture, nor does he seem to want to with the comments he made. And I didn't read the comments myself. I didn't see the full transcript of what's said, so stuff obviously could have been misplaced or misworded. But what I saw, the clips that I saw, it doesn't look good. He's basically saying, "Fire me,"
Yep, that's basically it. He said, "You know what?" And how do you think Milan Twitter, God love him, what's the reaction to this? I mean, the legend of legends is going to get shown the door here.
I don't know. I think it's going to be 50-50. I mean, 50% want to see just, the team get better and whatever the way that is with RANGNICK, and the other part are going to be like, you know what? We're true historians of the team. Maldini is, royalty. We're with him with 100%. And so it's going to be hard, I think, for much of Milan Twitter, but I think it's I hate to say it, but I think it's time to part ways. If he's not going to be under the system with RANGNICK, I mean, this hopefully just goes out well. It doesn't leave a bad taste in his mouth and in the mouth of Milan faithful. And I don't think it will be. I think it'll be, if anything, it'll have bad taste between him and the ownership. But his standing with the club will always be there. And it's just unfortunate that a legend like this has to go through something like this, where you see legends like Nedved and Zanetti still doing really well at their respective clubs and still treated like the royalty that they are, and things are going well, obviously, so that helps. That's
going to be the biggest part of this, that if they're going to move on from Maldini, and if they're going to part ways with him, how do they break this cleanly, and how do they break this in such a fashion that it's on good terms, and that when there's going to be Milan legend type stuff, that the door is always open for him to come back, and is he going to want to come back? That is now the challenge for Scaroni, for Gazidis, for Elliott, if all of this is moving forward. I mean, you're talking about a guy that, we talked about this on Calcio Connection last week. We said we're talking about, when you word associate AC Milan, Maldini is one of the first names you associate with that club because of the family lineage. So, and then you got Daniel in there playing with the Primavera, at least bouncing between there and the senior team. So it's they've not handled this professionally, from the Boban sacking, and Boban is not lily white in this.
No.
Okay. All the way up to where they're at with this now. It has not been handled very well. And it makes you almost long for the BNG days, because when they were running the show, everything was close to the vest. And you were usually very, very surprised when they pulled the trigger on a transfer or a manager move.
Yeah. The other thing you hear is Mr. X, right? I think ultimately the Maldini will still be in good faith with the Milanisti. I just think, him and RANGNICK and Gazidis even and Scaroni, those are the ones that are not going to be on the same page. But I think hopefully, once a new ownership does take over, they find ways to keep Maldini in the loop. Whatever way they do it along, it's like you said, it's a nice parting of the ways, and really there's no burden there, and they want to bring him back for whatever, like legend days or whatever you want to do. So that's going to be the tricky part, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to have other guys in the club like Baresi, but Daniele Massato is still very visible in the club, that will probably figure out how to counsel this as well. All right. Yeah. I mean, if the other guys are smart, they're going to involve, those that are still connected with the club, that are not in a, is compromising a position. So, that's another thing that they're going to have to consider. This one's worth watching, folks. But it's probably going to turn out to be the worst kept secret as far as managerial moves. And, the shame of it is Pioli's actually done a very solid job since taking over, and let's just put it this way. If this is really going to happen and RANGNICK is taking over, it won't take long for Pioli to find work.
No, and there's actually a big rumor, and the name now escapes me what Serie team had their names on his list, but he's going to find a job really quickly, especially how well he did with salvaging Milan. Yep. Yeah, teams that are more in the middle of the table or lower end of the table are going to look for this guy, because he will certainly stabilize your ship and make you a contender into on the cusp of Europe for sure. You're probably not going to win you Scudetto or anything here or there, but he's certainly a quality manager, I think, and the list is going to be long for who wants his services.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see what happens with that. Round and round it goes. We'll see what happens. So now let's move on to transfers.
Are you talking about?
I can't get this out of my mouth, Richard. I think
I know where you're going with it. So
I can't. Barcelona want Mattia De Sciglio. There, I said it.
Too much grappa by Barcelona. What the heck are you thinking? What are you thinking?
They want for what? What do you want?
Gavin Hardy, what is he doing?
Does he know how to cook?
I don't know, man.
Have you seen him cross a ball? And crossing's not Barcelona's attacking tactics, but how? Why?
Must be a sign the team is falling. The management's falling apart there, and they're just reaching now for anything and everything. The end is near with Messi, and they're just trying to find anything.
I read that and I said, no, somebody's got too much time on their hands and they're just throwing something out there.
Yeah, just reaching for something. How about the Calcio? Who? Okay, yeah, why not?
This will get people to read.
Yeah,
it'll only get me to look at who wrote it so I can call them an idiot. And I don't even know who wrote it. They're not that important. They're not that important to me anymore.
No.
Good, great. Come on. This is where you know that people have been in quarantine for way too long.
Yeah.
All right, and they're losing their shit, and they're saying, "Come up, Mattia De Sciglio to Barcelona." Gotta be kidding me! You gotta be. Come on, please. We might all have to be sheltering in place, but we're not. And some of us might be. We're losing our minds. We're not stupid. We didn't get stupid in this time.
I can see if Juventus try to throw him in the deal for like the Pjanic swap, just say, hey, why don't you take the Calcio too? Let's get him out of here. But I mean, straight up say, yeah, we're interested in the Calcio. Like what?
And if Agnelli, the only way Agnelli can pull this off is if he convinces Barcelona that you need the Calcio because he carries Pjanic's bags.
There you go.
That's it. There's just no way. How does that fit tactically? He can't pass. He can pass 5 yards, and that might be smart to pass to De Jong or to Messi or somebody like that.
He can dive.
He can dive. All right, but his defending is average. Allegri saw something with him. That's why he ended up going to Juve. I don't think Saudi doesn't rate him. If he did, Cuadrado wouldn't be playing right back.
Yeah.
So, and I know that there's some injury things that are going along there with the Calcio as well. But I mean, it's this one that one's a whopper. That one's a whopper. Whoever wrote that, good one. You had me going. So
we need some joy or laughter in this time of downward spiral with all the chaos.
Let's talk about a good right back, Denzel Dumfries from PSV, rumored to join Milan, and boy, this would be a big time upgrade. Seen a little bit of him. First of all, incredibly naturally talented, incredibly fast, very good in aerial battles, which you don't find very often with a right back.
Yeah, not very often.
Crosser of the ball. I can't remember who I got into a fight with on Twitter, and it's good crosser of the ball. It's like, well, I don't rate ground crosses aren't crosses. Really? Ground crosses aren't crosses? What?
They're crosses.
Okay, listen, I'm going to just start. Okay, everybody come around, sit down. I'm going to just educate you on something. If you are in the corner, okay, with the ball, and you have somebody making a run in the box, is it better to put a ball along the ground that they can just redirect with their right foot or their left foot? Okay, is that easier? Or put a sky ball and try to aim for a guy's head?
Come on now. It's easy.
Okay. Some people out there might have a hard-on for guys who can put a beautiful cross and pin it to a guy's head. That's fine. If that's what you find in the beauty in football. When I'm a Milan supporter, all I care about is the ball going in the damn net. Okay. And the easiest way to find the easiest way to do that. All right. We talked about this when we attempted to do that video with the Inter-Roma game, and I got critical of Baggio's ball to Zamorano. You
Yeah.
forced Zamorano to do some work there. If he kept it on the ground, it would have been a lot easier for him. I mean, Zamorano scored the goal. All right.
Yeah.
But I would say any opportunity where you can clip a ball along the ground that somebody, all they have to do is just direct it in with the inside of their foot. That's the easiest way. Why are we trying to put a ball on anybody's head anymore? First of all, the art of that cross is just totally gone. All right. There's maybe 5 people in the world that can consistently put a ball on somebody's head. All right.
DeShelio is not one of them.
And one of them is coaching for Bologna. All right.
Yeah.
So Sinisa Mihailovic.
Yeah.
So he's not playing. So that's I had a really hard time trying to understand where that guy was coming from. Nice guy. I can't even remember who did it, but interesting conversations and that sort of thing. But to say that you don't count ground crosses as crosses, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. It's a cross.
It's like you don't count goals that roll on the ground as opposed to hitting top of the net. It's they all count.
Yeah. Dumfries, your thoughts on him?
It'll be a massive upgrade for right back if that's what Milan if they somehow steal that, because I mean, who do they have right now? Calabria, he's up and down. You could obviously use him as a backup for both left back and right back. And then Abate he's long gone. And then who else are you going to have there? Young Conti, he's injury prone. We're not sure yet with him. Both him and Calabria, they've been very inconsistent. So it's really hard, for Milan to do anything down the right flank. Rely everything on the left flank with Theo Hernandez, because he is consistent. He can go down the pitch. He can, get back when he needs to. And those other guys, they'll do it every now and then, but it's not consistent whatsoever. And that's why you see the ball tends to rotate to the left hand side ultimately, because that's where the passes will come in consistently. So
yeah. So it would be an upgrade if they can make it work. Great. So at least Milan have realized, at least the current staff there have realized that right back is a position that really needs to be addressed. So it makes sense. And if they can get Dumfries and they can get him at a price that works for them, that would be a big time upgrade. And man, can you imagine? You got Dumfries bombing down the right, you've got Theo bombing down the left. That's going to be something to reckon with. So
yeah, it's in the striker at that point, right?
Yep. Just get somebody that can bag the goals, whether Ibra stays through all of this or if another striker comes on board. So we shall see. There's going to be a question. We're going to get into listener questions here shortly. And there's going to be a question about Miralem Pjanic, but I want to address something that Corriere was reporting. There is something being flirted out there that there could be they're reporting the possibility of a swap between Pjanic going to Chelsea and Jorginho going the other way. Agnelli should have a cigarette if he pulls that off. In my personal opinion. I think that Pjanic is trending downward. I think that Jorginho has been very steady. I think he's found his legs in the Premier League and he's become a very important piece to that Chelsea team. I'm going to say that this has a 50-50 chance of happening, largely because I think Pjanic is gone after this season is over with, whenever it's over. But this specific decision to swap for Jorginho when Juventus is possibly in line for some other midfield type players. Pogba's still kind of being talked about, although somebody reported that maybe that's a pipe dream from a cost or from a salary standpoint. Tonali, there's a number of names being linked with Juventus's midfield. So I mean, this Pjanic Jorginho swap is a coin flip at best for me.
I agree. And I think the success rate of Pjanic, if he went to Chelsea, would not be as good as if, say, he went to Barcelona. I think Barcelona do very good things with older midfielders, especially those in a Regista type role. And so if he were to go to Chelsea, I think it would be very unsuccessful for him. And, that would be a steal for Juventus if they were to get Jorginho, because that's obviously Sarri's guy. He knows the system. He knows how to pull the strings. And if that were to happen, that would be by Tonali, because that would not happen at all.
Sure.
It wouldn't make sense for, playing time or anything. But, I give it at best 50-50, that swap move to Chelsea, because as good as it would sound for Juventus fans, it doesn't make real sense for Pjanic or Chelsea. So,
sure.
So lose for both of those guys, or those two parties.
Sure. Those were the three that jumped out for me to have a look at and was worth talking about. I mean, certainly there's going to be more rumors swirling around as we all have this time on our hands before the games resume. So I'm sure we'll be bringing up more as we go, but those are certainly noteworthy names, and we'll see what happens. So, I mean, everything's fluid with transfers. You never know. And most of these stories that break, I'd say 98% of them are always end up being false.
Yep.
So just fun to talk about. All right. I think we got we said to the listeners, ask us anything, and they came up big time again, didn't they?
They did. We got lots of questions. I hope I got them all. And if I didn't, maybe you can catch me up the ones I missed. But you ready?
Fire away.
All right. First, from our friends up north, the Calcio guys. Hey guys, it's good to hear from you guys. They say, with today marking 20 years since Lazio last won the Scudetto, if the season were to resume, do you guys like their chances to win it? Rank the likelihood from 1 to 10. And much love as always from Montreal. Stay safe, ragazzi. You as well. So Frank, if the season were to resume, when it resumes, hopefully, what do you rate their chances of winning the Scudetto this season?
I'm going to say a 6. I'm going to give them I'm going to give them more than half a chance.
Okay.
The concern I have is they got to go to the J among the fixtures that remain here, and they're
one of the few teams that can do it, though, right?
Yeah, sure. They're
probably the only team that can do it.
Definitely, they've beaten them. And they've beaten them twice so far this season. But trying to beat a team, one of the hardest things to do is beat a team 3 times in a row. We'll see if they can pull that off. I'm just taking a look at Lazio's schedule. I'm on a site that's not letting me do that, and I think that just has to do with the fact that all of this is gone. Actually, there's a next button. That's nice.
Oh, well, you look at that. I'll tell you my chances. I think if the season had not had this hiatus and the season continued on from where it was, I would say their chances are probably like it's up there. It's neck and neck with Juventus because they were playing so well. Juventus had a little bit of hiccups and they're doing well obviously as well. But in Lazio were scoring goals and bunches, and Immobile was just on fire. But with this break, you honestly do not know what the shape of the players and the teams are going to be like. What kind of momentum did they lose, or are they going to have new momentum? Who knows? And a 6 out of 10 is not a bad shout. I'm just really hoping someone does beat Juventus. I'm going to give them just a little bump up, 7 out of 10. But it's going to be difficult. So many unknowns with this break, this hiatus that we had, and what kind of shape is anybody in at all? And you got to rely on the bench. Which team has more depth? I'm going to give the depth edge probably to Juventus. And in this case, if you want to talk about that. So it's going to be difficult for Lazio. But we also don't know what kind of shape Juventus could be in far worse shape, as far as the older players and whatnot. So I'd be curious to see.
The thing that Lazio has going for them is that Serie A is all they have left to play.
Yeah.
Juventus is still chasing a treble.
Will Immobile still be hot?
Yeah, he was my pick for Capocannonieri, so I expect him to be, fully ready to go. I expect him to, and hopefully, still can do what he needs to do to break Higuain's record. Now, the away fixtures aren't daunting. They do travel to Torino. They travel to Lecce, and Lecce can be tricky. Very passionate, rabid fan base. They're not going to have fans there, so. At Udinese, at Juve, at Hellas Verona, and then at Napoli. So it's not horrible. I'm worried about those I'm worried about at Juve, and I'm worried about at Napoli. Yeah. And then the home fixtures, very manageable. Fiorentina, Milan, Sassuolo, Cagliari, Brescia. So it's doable. The home fixtures, they probably can get taken care of, and it's doable. I just think that the trip to Juve and trying to beat them a 3rd time in a row is really hard. Finishing the season at Napoli when, they're probably going to have to – it might be a scenario where they're going to have to win at the San Paolo, and the way Gattuso really got Napoli playing here before all of this broke. And if he can get that – if he can, get Napoli to regain that form I find it difficult. I'll give them more than half a chance because they're so close. But I think there's some fixtures that might just be a little bit too tricky for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I get the questions, don't I? Let's go to the next question. If my phone will start working. It comes from Rafa. Rafa Rispo from the Far From Vesuvius podcast. Hi, Rafa.
Hey,
He
Rafa.
said, I think it's obvious Sandro Tonali will leave Brescia. I agree. Where does he end up, and why is he the best fit? Yeah, you want to have this? We kind of answered this question a couple weeks ago, but obviously new situations come up, and so I'm curious if your thoughts have changed at all.
I mentioned that Lazio would be a very intriguing fit, but it's not going to happen. Inter for me, and I know the papers are saying that he's the favorite, but how many midfielders does Antonio Conte need? No. And you run the risk of him getting lost, and who's going to go? And I mean, I know that Alex has mentioned that Matias Vecino will probably be gone. Borja Valero will probably be gone. But you got Stefano Sensi, who's going to be recovered. You've got Nicolo Barella. You've got Brozovic. You've got some midfield. You got Eriksson. So you've got some midfielders in here, and you bring Tonali into that mix, and sure, that's going to be a dangerously deep midfield, but how do you keep all of those players happy? So, I mean, it's interesting. He's a Milan fan. He grew up a Milan fan. Would love to see him at the Rossoneri, but I think Milan are going to get priced out. And I think they really like Benacer, who plays in a relatively similar position.
Yeah.
So, that's out now. Benacer, was thought that PSG were going to come in for him, and Milan has said no. So that's another side story to that. But, can a Benacer Tonali midfield coexist? I could see the potential in that. Juventus would be a very good fit if they're going to part with Pjanic. I hate to say that because, it would be a case of the rich getting richer. But as far as the teams that are realistically in for Tonali's services, Juventus would end up, and the more I think about it, the more I think what a great fit that would be for him.
Yeah.
Having Bentancur in that midfield with him doing a lot of the dirty work, I think that would be extremely dynamic. So I think it would be a kind of a lateral move for him to go to Inter, and not because Inter's clearly in stature, Inter's a better club than Brescia. But having to compete for playing time and having to compete for his place with 4, 5, possibly 6 other players in that midfield is going to put him at a disadvantage, and it's going to stunt his career growth. So, and I'm not saying this because I wear red and black and I bleed red and black. I'm saying this because I'm looking at the surplus of midfielders that Inter have and wonder how they're going to pull it off and keep them happy.
We had this chat in the World Football Index chat group about where Tonali was likely to go, and I kept saying he's going to come to Milan, guys. They kept laughing at me. There's very little chance he's going to come to Milan. And I said this a couple weeks ago. I think the best fit for him. Now I'll get to that, but I thought Juventus would be the best fit for him. Pitch time. He's under Sarri. Sarri really develops these registas. If Pjanic leaves, obviously that's a place where he can fit in. But then you start thinking about, if they get that swap deal and get Jorginho, that's not going to be a good fit for him. And obviously you mentioned, how the fit would be with Inter. So it's a tale of, if that swap deal does happen, then you're like, at this point, it doesn't matter which one of those 2 clubs he goes to, because it's going to be likely the same scenario where, he's going to be struggling for pitch time and has to really, really earn it on the practice field. And that's going to be hard. Sarri doesn't rotate as much as you would want, and Conte, if you get under his bad side, you're not going to see the day of light. So it's difficult, right? And we would love to have him in Milan, obviously, sure. But Milan obviously loves Benacer, and you said Lazio, and Rafa brought this question up, and I'm thinking maybe Napoli. Maybe not. They got some good young midfielders. It's a very tough midfield there, but hey, it'd be a nice young group that he'd be working with, and they could grow up together. So
it's a nice 4-3-3 fit if Gattuso continues to play in a 4-3-3 there. He would fill the Jorginho role.
Yeah. Because Alan's leaving there anyway, isn't he?
Probably. And you'd have Rui still there, and you'd have some kind of a midfield of Tonali, Ruiz, and Zielinski, as an example. You've got Deme in there. You've got Lobotka, who both have come in and have been serviceable. Yeah. So, but they're not Tonali.
No.
So there might be a surplus of midfielders at Napoli, but it's going to be a lot easier for him to break through there.
And you got the Gattuso who worked with Pirlo, so you kind of going to try to put him in the same positions that he was in, maybe. Who knows? Who knows?
Sure, you never know. You never know. So I Fitz Inter. Inter's the favorite according to all of the folks that are in the business. I don't like the fit. Yeah. Juventus, Napoli, probably the best fits. Lazio is an intriguing fit. Milan's kind of the wish, but probably not. I'd probably rule that one out.
How about Atalanta?
I don't know but I don't think he's an Atalanta type guy. When you look at the midfielders that they've got workers. They don't have like a deep lying ball. They really want Gomez to pull the strings. They really want Ilicic to pull the strings. They get the work from their wing backs. So for me, I don't see the fit with how they're currently set up. You
mentioned Roma last time, didn't you? About a possible fit for Tonali.
Roma's interesting, sure. What do you do with some of the other guys that they've brought in? Pellegrini, for example. It kind of gets crowded. It kind of gets duplicated because Pellegrini does a little of what Tonali does. He just does it in higher positions.
Hear me on this one. This is a very much a pipe dream because this team can't hold any players. But Sassuolo, they got a good young group there, which they're not going to be able to keep. But if they were, some miracle, they're able to keep Caputo and Boga and the whole bunch, add Tonali in there, that just makes them that much more fun to watch. They might not stop anything, but it'd be interesting. It'd be fun to have him as a regista and then have all those attacking options in front of him. I mean, that would be fun week in and week out.
Oh, it's definite fantasy. But,
yeah, for sure.
Unless Sassuolo comes in with a metric butt ton of money, it's not going to happen. So
Chic. Come on, Chic.
Somebody out there with some oil money, get in there and buy Sassuolo so they could have Tonali and we can really have some fun with this.
Phone us. We'll hook you up.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. All right, so let's go to the next question. This next question is a rollover from our we were joined on Calcio Connection with Alex Dano and Jerry Mancini, and I think it was Michael Lisi at that time who posed a question about Barbara Berlusconi versus Wanda Nara. Who would you take? And it all started because Jerry had no idea who Barbara Berlusconi was at first, and we had to teach him about her, who she was, and then he wouldn't stop talking about it nonstop. Yes, I'm going to call you that, Jerry. So he kind of posted a question for us, kind of continuation of that, and he says, "All right, you're forced to name either Wanda Icardi or Barbara Berlusconi as the first female manager of AC Milan. Who would you choose? 2 stipulations. If Wanda or Barbara is accepted, Mauro Icardi or Berlusconi would have to be their assistant managers."
Jerry, go to hell for asking this question.
Yeah,
I'm abstaining. I abstained from that question on the Calcio Connection. I'm abstaining from this one. So I don't want those are even bad. I can't even. My conscience can't even put together a nightmare like that.
So. No, the headache for both of you. You had a great line last week about what was it?
They both come with baggage. Headache to satisfaction ratio.
Yeah, that's it. No, last week I answered it, but I think for this question in particular, I'm going to abstain as well because I wouldn't want either in any circumstance. Honestly, bring me back Young Hong Lee.
Sorry, Jerry.
Sorry, Jerry.
Well, we'll ask you this. We'll ask you this, Jerry, and you can answer this for us. Which one would you rather have at Lazio?
Yeah, it had to be one of them. Nobody else.
Yep.
All right, next one comes from Xavier, excuse me. He says, "What team do you think plays the most negative anti-possession, long balls, lowest blocks, set pieces, etc. style of football in Calcio?" It's tough.
Yeah, I saw this question. Thank you, Xavier. It's a good question. It was an intriguing one. And there's only 2 names I could come up with that those teams are comfortable letting the other team have the ball. Hellas Verona is one. But here's the thing: when I evaluate all of these teams, I don't know if there's really anyone that's playing anti-football in Serie A, like as they're saying. Is there some low block stuff going on? Absolutely. Is there teams that are happy letting the other team have more of the ball? Absolutely. I think you look at Hellas Verona being a team that's been successful by doing things on the counter and winning with hard work and the job that Juric has done.
Hell, Inter as well when they played the bigger clubs.
Sure. Sure. And I think I think you look at Spal in a way tries to play like that a little bit. I would also suggest that Fiorentina is somewhat built that way, or at least should be, because we talked about this with some of their games. When Fiorentina is inferior in possession, it actually works in their favor because Chiesa gets more room on the break, and he can link up with Vlahovic, and they can do some excellent things. But I would probably say, the teams in terms of frequency, the ones that keep coming to me is Hellas Verona and Spal. And I don't think they're really playing anti-football. I just think that they're built to be comfortable with letting the other team have more of the ball than them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, Spal and years past, you could certainly say that. But this year, I think they're a little bit more open, a little bit better. Certainly not Lecce. Lecce try to attack you and they just get beat for it because they don't have the defensive keep up with that. I try to look at some other teams. The two teams I know are most far away probably are Atalanta and Sassuolo because they're always trying to attack and stuff. So that's fun to watch. Parma, not Parma, excuse me, Hellas Verona. I could see that in a way, but honestly, they play really well, sound defensively, and it works to their advantage. And that might be the closest, honestly. But it's beautiful defensive Italian football, and Catenaccio almost really, and it's really great to see the way they do it, and maybe just because it's a nice story by them. So I kind of don't look at that. I mean, if I had to pick a team, it would be Spal. But I mean, look at all the teams in the league, and honestly, I mean, you can't really say that about anybody. At times, Genoa and Sampdoria kind of play a little bit like that, and Brescia at times, but it's more unattractive and they're not playing well. Fiorentina as well. No one really is playing anti-football, I would say, in this league. Certainly the past. But right now, most teams are trying to get on the offensive side. That's why Serie A has so many goals now. They're one of the top, if not the top scoring team, every week. So or league every week. So it's changing how it used to be by far.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, you don't have that. I mean, Genoa found a little success under Davide Ballardini doing this for a little while, a couple seasons ago.
Dentist chair.
Yeah, like we were saying.
That was a good example, yeah.
Yep. So, but we haven't seen anything really like that. I think teams are trying to be a little bit more positive. You just have some teams that are, if we're possessing it 45% of the time, we can live with that. We'll let you have it in certain spots, and we'll let you make your mistakes in these spots, and we'll hit you. But, there's, like I said, I mean, I think the two we talked about are probably the two that are primary, in terms of, playing more of a counterattacking game, but to call them anti-football, really can't get there with either of them. So,
yeah, I agree. Next question is from Joseph Porco from Calcio Fan Blogs. By the way, all these questions are coming in, please give them all a follow. They're awesome follows. So
yeah, good guys.
The question he says, do you actually believe these rumors of Pjanic, and we kind of talked about leaving Juve in the next summer transfer window? We talked about the possible swap deal and this and that. So what are your thoughts on believing the rumors that he's actually going to leave?
I think he's gone.
Yeah.
I think that there were certainly high hopes when Sarri came in and built his formation that Pjanic would be Jorginho, and it hasn't quite gone.
Yeah.
The other things that Pjanic takes joy in, taking free kicks. A certain Portuguese guy is there doing that now. He'll take some corners, he'll do some certain things but he's had a few things taken away from him. He's also he's played a lot of games over his career. I mean, he's put on a lot of miles from Lyon to Roma to now Juve.
Was it last year or whatever? I remember one year you were reading a stat that he played something like 81 games in a year. And it's like, that's ridiculous how many games he played. He just worked too much.
Yeah. And the position he plays, I mean, in the middle of the park and the ground that he has to cover in all reality, especially the Allegri years where it was just him and Khedira, chasing a lot of shadows in games that Juve ended up being in a disadvantage at.
Yeah.
And that adds up when you're playing that many games in a year, and then all the games he goes and plays for his country. He's not the Pjanic of 3 seasons ago.
No.
When he got onto the scene at Juve, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think that you're seeing him in particular as a guy that is breaking down. I think Juve want to offload him. I think that if they can get, one of the bigger clubs to do it and take it off his hands, take it off their hands, it's great. I think that, I think it's a buyer beware though for the other clubs. You're not getting the Pjanic that you think you're getting. You're going to get a guy that might give you a burst for 5 to 10 games just because the change of scenery will rejuvenate him. But after that, some of that, the miles are going to kick in again, and he'll probably end up being back to the form that we've seen from him most of this season.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point about how losing his specialty, which is set pieces, that got pretty much taken away from him when Cristiano Ronaldo came in. That had a big impact on him. Not only does he not get as much opportunities now, but I'm sure he doesn't. He is not enjoying his football as much as he did. Yeah, they're winning, but you got that one aspect. Then he's also breaking down. His body's actually breaking down as well, and he's trying to catch up to him. So I think the chances are that he's leaving this summer is 90% at least. He's not having fun right now, and he's probably going to go somewhere that he can take at least set pieces. At least he'll contribute some way, And he's still, for my money, even as the last year, he was probably one of the top three set piece specialists, along with Paulo Dybala, who's also not getting as many opportunities now. So it's unfortunate for Pjanic, and he's had a really good career. So hopefully he can go somewhere that he can at least prolong his career just a little bit longer, but it's not going to be Juventus, I think, after this.
I'll give you the place where I think that he would probably be the best environment for him. PSG.
Yeah. Speaks French.
The French league is probably. I mean, he played at Lyon.
Yep.
The French league it's decent. They're certainly producing a lot of promising, talented players, but when you look at the profile of it, it is a step down.
Thiago Motta extended his career by going there.
Exactly. And I think that he can play in a deep lying role there in that midfield. I mean, if Neymar is going to go, and there's talk that he might go back to Barcelona or God knows where, there's opportunities for being a set piece specialist. Yeah, you got Di Maria there still. But I think that he's a guy that has the brand name that he could still be at a big club, and a club like PSG could still probably use his services.
I wonder if Lyon would take him back.
That's another place, Lyon.
Yeah.
So, some of these French teams, Marseille is going to be back in the Champions League next season.
I see him go to a smaller club like Strasbourg, team who's just on the precipice of European action and just need that one little bit of piece that maybe set pieces or something.
Well, you support Strasbourg, that's why you want him there. If he went back to Ligue 1, I think that would be the best environment for him. I think the Premier League, I think he'd get eaten alive. And I think La Liga, he'd be okay. I don't think Barcelona is an ideal destination for him, though.
If he wants a nice, quiet place to retire, where he's out of the spotlight, he can go to like Doodle Lounge in Luxembourg.
The Dude Lounge.
Dude Lounge.
The Dude Lounge. Yeah, I don't think they can afford him. I think the entire team doesn't make what he makes playing for Juve. So
no. Speaking of the Dude Lounge, we got a question from our friends at the Milan Weekly Podcast. They ask, I think this is more geared towards you. How excited are you, Frank, for German football this weekend? Also, is it the right decision to try to slow move this forward to some sort of normal? They're excluding me from this because I guess they know my answers already.
I'll start with the Bundesliga. Yeah, I just want to watch some kind of football now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm excited that DraftKings has contests. I think I put whatever's left of my bankroll, I've already put in reserved. So that's how excited I am for that. I know that Steve has been on me because I can't place a bet anymore. I'm betting on which of my kids are going to win rock, paper, scissors and stuff like that. But I'm not that much of a degenerate, Steve. But anyway, I want to watch something at this point. So, and I think most people share that sentiment and they're excited about Bundesliga coming back. I got friends here at home that don't watch soccer. And I tell them, I said, well, yeah, Fox Sports 1 is going to have German Bundesliga. And they say, what time?
Yeah.
I'll watch anything right now, for God's sake. So
everybody who likes sports will watch Bundesliga.
Yeah. You've got Bundesliga and NASCAR this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch NASCAR.
Yeah.
On Sunday, and I've got relatives that are big NASCAR fans, but I'm going to actually sit and watch a bunch of cars turn left. Okay.
I used to do that. I used to do that. Yeah.
So for 3 hours or however long it is. And then they're going to talk about all sorts of terminology with automobiles that I have no clue what they're talking about. It's like the restrictor plate or this or that. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, fix it and go. So, but anyway, as far as the second part of his question, I think I want to praise the leagues that are making the effort right now, because I think that if you read the articles, doctors are involved, health people are involved. They're being responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're going to do this, be responsible. All right. And by and large, we are seeing that from every league. They're getting all of the protocols taken care of. They're trying to tick all of the boxes, and they're trying to do this to bring it back safely. And if players are coming back and deciding to play at will, if managers want to manage at will, if people want to work at will, let them do it. But bringing it along slowly is a very intelligent way to do it. Go through the health protocols, get all of the right questions answered. If you're going to do it this way, I'm on board with it. Now, and this is coming from a guy that for weeks said when all of this hit, said, okay, let's be done with these seasons and start 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
But as a fan of the game, if they're finding a responsible way of doing this, and they're doing this with top health officials' opinions at heart, then I'm all in with them bringing it back. Okay?
And I think all followers of football should be watching this weekend, because we really want to see, does this, this protocol, this way that Bundesliga is trying to do it, is it going to work?
Yeah.
And obviously, you're going to need several weeks to really understand the grasp of it with a lot of, sample size. But if it starts working, you're going to see the English league and Serie and league, maybe not League On, but La Liga, they're all going to start, try to get their gears going and try to get this ball running. Again, if it doesn't work well, we're going to have to go back to square one, and that may just cancel the whole thing. Who knows? But the Bundesliga is really going to be the catalyst, whether we have or do not have a remainder of the season.
Sure. So so that's as long as we're getting that, as long as we're getting that, and as long as they're going through every possible protocol and doing it reasonably and doing it safely, have at it. And if the players and the managers are willing to come back and perform and play, have at it.
Funny story about the Bundesliga. The Augsburg manager is not going to be able to be at the sideline for the next game because he broke German protocol and he left his house to go get some toothpaste. So he's going to miss the game because he went to get toothpaste. Anyway,
has to be some really damn good toothpaste.
It better be, right? Vodka.
The team provided toothpaste was not acceptable to him.
No, or the hotel one. I don't know.
The hotel one, the forget something program.
Yeah. My goodness.
Oh my.
All right. Next question comes from our friends of the Las Vegas Atalanta supporters group. They asked,
hey,
Jack Bonaventura back to Atalanta. Who wins this deal? Mike Lisi says Jack. What do you think?
Milan wins this deal. I think Jack ran his course, and the injury proneness, and things like that. I think that, Milan weren't going to re-sign him anyway. No. And I think that, going, a 2.0, a Jack 2.0 in this Atalanta team, I don't know if it's going to work. I think that Atalanta has evolved in terms of who they are. It was a different team when Bonaventura was there.
If anything, he won't be a starter. He might be a depth player, if anything, but won't be a starter. He's
a guy that's going to maybe play 10, 15 minutes at a time. And that might be good for him to prolong his career because he gets hurt a lot. And that was something that was always difficult. When he had flashes of very good play for Milan, I don't think he was excellent by any stretch. I think that he did a number of things well. But I think that the writing was on the wall. It was time to move on, and Milan need to move on because they need the money. They need to be able to grow their club in a different way. And Bonaventura going to Atalanta, like I said, I think Atalanta is a completely different team from the time that he left. So I think it's going to be harder for him.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And Jack is always gonna be one of the fan favorites. He has been the fan favorite since his entire tenure at Milan, just because he came right at the end of all the legends leaving, and we had so much hope for him. He talked about how the pride he had for Milan. He had wonderful tears of joy many times over Milan, and so he's always gonna be a fan favorite. But like you said, he ran his course. He's no longer in the starting picture anymore. And the team's not even that good at the moment, and so he's not getting his playing time now. And he's going to go to Atalanta, to a team that's much better, in a much better situation. They play a different brand of football, like you said, and he's not going to be on the starting pitch there. Yeah, if he wants to go prolong his career, it's a great place to do it. But I think I agree with you. Ultimately, Milan wins this, and maybe Jack wins it. Maybe Jack has a special place in his heart for Bonaventura, for Atalanta too. So maybe he wins slightly as well too. A little bit of nostalgia there, but I like your Milan shot for winning this deal in particular.
Yep.
All right. Next question comes from Bag Full of Toffee, the Evertonians. He says, with us being linked with half of all the players in Italy, do you think we'll actually take anyone off the top of his head? Some of the names that he's heard possibly going to Everton are Donnarumma, Vicino, Alan, Koulibaly, Cengiz Under, Kluivert, Zaniolo, Dzeko, Belotti, Immobile, Luis Alberto, Ramsey, Kumbulla. Those are some of the ones. Do you think any of those are going to go there?
Vicino probably makes the most sense out of all of them.
Yeah. He's at least likely to be still at the club, come next year. So
right. Ramsey just got at Juventus, and I think they like him. And he's kind of grown. He's kind of grown there a little bit too, especially over the last couple of opportunities he got to play. Some of these other names I think are pipe dreams that bigger clubs are going to be after.
And Ancelotti has some links with some of these players and stuff, but still, it's going to be hard. Yeah, the Premier League has a big pull for a lot of players, and the money is as well. But you got to look at. Everton's obviously had a big resurgence, with Ancelotti now, and maybe that thirst to playing in England is going to drive some players. But I think a majority of those players that were listed are going to remain either in Serie A or go to even bigger clubs, like the Real Madrid of the world or whatever, something like that, because there's some really good players on that list. Luis Alberto is a stud. Alan
makes sense because of the link with Ancelotti being at Napoli, but I think Vicino is the probably most practical out of all of those.
Isn't Kumbulla going somewhere? He's going to Juventus, isn't he?
Yeah, Kumbulla might either Juve or Inter. Or is it Napoli?
I think it is.
I know he's going to be at one of the bigger clubs. He's going to be going to one of the bigger clubs in Italy. I don't think he's going to.
People were talking about him hooking up with De Vrij and stuff like that, and so I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So we'll see about Kumbulla, but he's not going to Everton. Yeah. So Vicino 1, Allen 2. I don't think anybody else on that list after that would go to Goodison Park.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Bag Full of Toffee, I guess.
Yeah.
Vijay Rahman, he says, with Chiellini and Balotelli making nice, or making up and being all nice again, what are the chances a similar thing happens between Chiellini and Mello? Chiellini's been ruffling the feathers about a lot of people lately, and particularly Mello and Balotelli. He basically called him lazy and he didn't like playing with him, is the gist of it. He kind of backtracked a little bit, especially on the Balotelli thing, and he's saying, I kind of spoke before I even thought about it. It's really stupid on my part. But it seems like him and Balotelli have made up a little bit. But what do you think him and Miller, the chances of them making up?
Slim to none, and Slim walked out the door. Chiellini has turned into the guy that sits in the front porch of his house in his rocking chair with his favorite drink.
Clint Eastwood in what's that movie?
Gran Torino.
Gran Torino.
Just you and it's almost as if you say anyone's name and he'll just start talking shit about the guy.
Yeah.
So
back in my day, I stopped him 20 times.
Yeah. Old man syndrome and he's not even an old man yet. So too many bandages to the head maybe in his career, but it's just like it's if you have a beef with people, wait till you retire.
I hate this stuff and
put it in a book and try to sell it. What are you doing running your mouth and letting people run with clickbait?
Yeah.
And if you're going to talk shit about somebody and have it come back to bite you, at least try to make some money off of it. Put it in a book.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I hate when players nowadays they talk their shit over social media like they do, and like you said, it's just clickbait at this point. Save it, sell it for a book like Pirlo did,
Yeah.
Other players. So
yeah, some guys will just wait until the end of their career and then they'll just start writing a book, and you'll see they'll just start unloading on people, and it's awesome to read.
Yeah.
So, but don't do it for somebody who gets to make a buck putting in a report that you won't get to see. So that's just my guide. If you're gonna have a great career and you want to talk shit about people that you didn't like along the way, wait till you retire and somebody approaches you about a book deal. Don't do it where a journalist gets to make the money off of it and you don't. And worse yet, you could get fined if the owner doesn't like what you said. But Agnelli's never going to fine Chiellini.
No. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Next, coming from Chiesa de Totti, they ask, who has a bigger role for Italy at Euro 2021, Tonali or Zaniolo? That's a tough one.
For me, it's Zaniolo. Okay, and let me.
Okay. Why is that?
And I thought about this. This is a great question. First of all, Chiesa di Totti. When you look at Mancini's 4-3-3 setup, okay, you have Jorginho and you have Tonali. You have deep lying playmakers. Okay, Mancini is further along in this project with Jorginho.
Yep.
You got two guys that are very, very good in their role at that position. And when you do that, a manager is most typically going to err to the more experienced guy, err to the guy that he has been further along with in his own process. So to me, Jorginho is going to win out over Tonali. Now, this might bite me in the ass a year from now, but that's what the logic says to me. So Zaniolo, what is he? Is he in the three-man midfield on either side of Jorginho? Or is he or do you put him on the right-hand side of the front three? Because I don't think the right-hand side of the front three is figured out yet.
It's not.
I think Insigne is good as your left-sided guy. I think the striker right now is Belotti, although Immobile is going to get some Italy international games where he can show that he can do it in a 4-3-3. We've talked about this many times about why it's been a struggle for him. The right-hand side is there to be taken, in my opinion. I think Chiesa has struggled. I think that Bernardeschi does a good job. I think Bernardeschi might be one of those guys that when he puts on the Italy colors, he's potentially going to be different than what he does for his clubs.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't quite gone well for him at Juve. So those are candidates. But I think that position is there for the taking. And if Zaniolo can recover from his injury, regain his fitness, still show his pace, he can run at people, he can dribble, and his skill set can be very, very useful for that side. So for me, I think Zaniolo has the chance to make a bigger impact than Tonali.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, historically, I would always say a team that has a strong regista is a team that's going to win and do really well in these tournaments. As of right now, I agree 100%. Jorginho's got the foothold on that position, and he's more than likely going to be he's a certainty that he's going to be in that position.
Yeah.
If we were to start today. But like you said, we don't know what's going to happen a year from now and what kind of development Tonali has, depending on where he goes next season. If he goes somewhere where he's going to get pitch time, a good team, and gets as a starter there, and all of a sudden develops into even more of what his potential could be, then he gives Jorginho a run for his money, especially if Jorginho has a poor year. But
sure.
More than likely, I agree with you that Zaniolo has probably going to be the more impact because there is more chance of him getting a starting position because there is no one really that's stolen that position yet in the right wing spot. The midfield is going to be hard to crack in the Azzurri lineup for anybody because the three guys there now are really, really good. So
Jorginho, Barella, and Verratti, and then you've got Sensi when he comes back.
Waiting. Yep.
So and you've got, I mean, certain kid in Florence right now, Castrovilli. Let's see how he continues to grow over the next year too.
Yeah, and so
he could end up in the plans. So
that right wing spot's going to be for Zaniolo's taking, or at least going to be up there, up to grab. So I think that's probably the most likely. But like you said, a year from now, depending on how the cards fall for all these players, who knows? Good news, Zaniolo's getting back now from his injury, so that's great news not only for Roma but for the Azzurri and Serie A fans in general.
And a great question. Come on, everybody else, ask questions like Chiesa di Totti. Come on, push us. Jerry asking about Barbara and Wanda.
You ask people ask anything. Come on now.
Had that spill over from the pod we did with them. I mean,
that's true. All right, Frank, not you. Another Frank. He asked the current Bologna squad. A Bologna question, I like it. Their squad is packed with potential. So much as I love Sinisa, he's talking about Mihailovic. Do they need to appoint a higher level manager to take them to the next step? I know a consistent goal scorer will be top on the list. Let's say Allegri takes charge of that team tomorrow. Could he do better?
We talked about this though. Do you really need a world-class goal scorer with how they're set up now?
No.
With Sansone, with Orsolini, and with Soriano. You need a guy that just gets in the right place at the right time and can bag goals.
Palacio, he's just older. He can do it for 10, 15 minutes, but they need someone who can do it for 60 to 75.
The way Bologna is set up, you don't need a striker that creates his own stuff. You need a striker that can get on the end of things.
Yeah.
With the way they're built. So Palacio makes a lot of sense. He does well. Santander for me was always a very weird pickup for them because I don't think he fits. Can he hold things up? Yes, but when you look at those three other guys, they're not pacey.
No,
they're skilled. Okay, so how do you if you're holding up play, you're usually doing it so that faster guys can run off of you and you can play them in. Well, Orsolini's not as skilled as he is. He really isn't outrunning anybody. And neither is Soriano, neither is Sansone. They're skilled. They've got technique that they can work around defenders. They're clever, and then they can finish plays with passes, with crosses, or finishing their own chance. So you need strikers that are going to be on that. It reminds me of 2000 Portugal, but that 2000 Portugal was far better.
Yeah.
Rui Costa, João Pinto, and Luis Figo.
No striker.
And
really.
Who was the striker? Nuno Gomez. And Nuno Gomez scored like 4 or 5 goals in that tournament. Just because all he had to do was just be at the end of what those 3 guys were doing.
Yeah.
So, a striker that has instincts and knows where he's going will look really, really good. So to answer his question, the collection of strikers you got right now, Palacio can't last very long in games. But after that, there's the other guys, and you got Santander, and I can't remember who the other guy they had off the top of my head. But it's it's not Destro anymore.
No, I think it would be a good fit, but it's not going to happen because he's going to Napoli, and that's Andrea Petagna. He doesn't need to do much. He has good instincts in front of goal.
I like that.
And he could be a really good fit for them as well. He would be out of the limelight, being in Bologna, but he's obviously going to Napoli, so that's not going to happen. But that's who I think would fit. Someone like that kind of player.
Caputo would be terrific.
Oh yeah, he'd be good anywhere.
Caputo would score 20 goals with those 3 guys behind him.
I think so. I agree.
Those are good examples, guys that maybe you don't mean, but I think he's gonna be locked in at Sassuolo. So because Caputo somewhat deals with a system like that now. There's Boga, there's Berardi. There really isn't a third guy. Unless you say Locatelli, but that's not really what he does.
Yeah.
So there's that. Now, as far as Mihailovic, I mean, it's Bologna. So how is Saputo really going to do better than Mihailovic? At any point.
Is Allegri going to come there?
No. I mean, theoretically, Allegri would do better than Mihailovic.
Yes.
Because I think he's got the track record and he's shown that he can do it.
But coming from Juve, I don't think he would go that far low.
I don't think he would go that far low. Do you know Pioli's going to be available pretty soon? I think that Pioli would be...
That was the name I heard. Bologna and Pioli is what I heard, I thought.
I think that Pioli would be an excellent fit.
Yeah.
for that team if they can keep it all together. He's a man manager. He's a guy that's going to put them out there and say, do what you've been doing. Do what you've been doing, and I'll just tweak it to try to make it better.
Yep.
All right. I'm not going to overhaul what you're doing. I like how we're set up here. I'll just make a couple of tweaks to make this thing really go.
Yep.
So
I like that.
De Serie would be very interesting, although I think he's hanging his hat at Sassuolo.
How about EDF?
I
don't think so? It would change the system too much?
I think things have burned. I think that he's really kind of burned himself a little here.
A little break.
The Sampdoria situation was a complete failure, and I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he just did not have the players to fit what he likes to do.
Yeah.
At Bologna, it's close. It's not all the way there yet, but it's close. He'd have to really, be willing to adapt. A couple of things for it to work. But I think that Pioli would make a lot of sense because Pioli's one of those guys that's more flexible, and he's going to look at what he's got and say, I like what you guys are doing. Okay. De Serie would have them be a little bit more frenetic, but he would have a little bit more of a defensive backbone than what he's used to having even at Sassuolo, with Boni as a central defender that I think is getting better and improving, and Scorupsi as a goalkeeper is going to be as good as he's had at any stop.
Yeah.
So De Serie would be an interesting one, but I think De Serie is going to hang his hat at Sassuolo for a little while.
He's doing really well there right now.
Yes, he is.
He should continue to milk that and work his trade even better. So, yeah, sure. Good shouts there. All right, this next one comes from Michael Lisi. He says, what, if anything, gets you excited about RANGNICK? What makes this different than any other change we've seen at Milan over the last 10 years? That's part one. Part two is, what was the last kit you guys bought, Milan or otherwise? But let's go with the RANGNICK question first.
I'll let you tackle that one. You're the Bundesliga
guy. What gets me excited about RANGNICK really is he builds youth teams. He builds the youth from the youth up and try to build a young squad, and he has an attacking style that he likes. Look no further than what he's doing at Leipzig. The team, the way they're playing, they have a clear philosophy now. They only buy young. I mean, the majority of the players are under 23, so you gotta love that. He likes to build a team, and they, if they're together when they're young, they can grow together and mature together. Like we saw, for us at least, the Milan teams in the back in the day when they grew up together and stuff like that. So he would be awesome there. And I'm not looking forward to him as the manager, but in terms of him with his fingerprints all over the blueprints and stuff, I do love that. And it would be nice to see attacking football and a young team and team that we can not buy players again from and make some money off of it, not just struggle in mid-table as we have been.
Yeah. With you there. At this point, how can anything be worse? I mean, I think that, like I said, and I've said this multiple times on a number of podcasts, I think that Milan is on the way back up. Okay. It's a slow rise. You're watching what's going on with some of these other clubs. Everybody's got their issues. Everybody's had their issues through the years. Liverpool had so much trouble for so long. Manchester United is going through that right now. And you're just talking about the Premier League. You're seeing, Juve, was Calciopoli related, certainly, but it took them a while to get it all back together. Inter, it took them a while to get it all back together. So clubs go through this. It's just taking a little longer, and a lot of it is the impatience of management, sacking managers, not having some degree of stability. Elliott and Gazidis and Scaroni, if they're doing this, that means they're all in on it, and this better work.
Yep.
Or the club is set back another 10 years.
Yeah, and let's hope that they do know what they're doing, and then things are going to turn around, because that's going to be a miserable 10 years if that's not the case. So
agreed.
Anyway, so what's the last kit you guys bought, Milan or otherwise? The last one I bought, I actually bought a Weston McKennie jersey for Schalke. Prior to that, I had a Falcinelli jersey, which is behind me here. You see right there. Your
Crotone jersey, yeah.
Trying to think,
I remember.
What else did I have? I bought? I think those are the only. Yeah, those are the most recent ones that I bought. Those two right there. So,
this one.
Actually, I have a Locatelli jersey too that I bought recently when he scored that game-winning goal against Juventus. I do have that as well.
This one right here, just before my birthday.
This year?
Yep.
Right.
Ibrahimovic 21 on the back.
Okay, right on. So, cool.
I mean, I wore number 21 when I played. So when Ibra picked number 21, it's like I'm so fucking getting that jersey, and it's like the first jersey I've bought in like at least 12 years. I bought a Pirlo jersey when I was in Italy.
Okay.
So, and that was the last one from there.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
That's fun. I'm usually not
I used to be. I used to buy jerseys all the time, but
yeah, I'm in the camp of middle-aged men shouldn't be buying and wearing jerseys.
No, I'm not there yet.
Women, wear them all you want. It's kind of like it's especially NFL football. God, I can't stand it. Guys wearing like oversized jerseys or really fat guys wearing like triple XL jerseys that they're not even like authentic jerseys. The sleeves are down to the elbow, and it's probably a knockoff because the font of the name on the back is not the same as the game jersey. I've seen those.
Nothing wrong with buying off brand.
Well, I only know this because I have one or two.
Yeah, I do too.
I got them like for cheap, so I was like, well, screw it. It tells the story. I'm a Troy Polamalu fan. I'll get a Troy Polamalu jersey. So,
ironically, the only two real jerseys I think I bought were the last two. Diego Falcinelli is from Crotone. I actually bought that. The only place I could get it is from Crotone, and that's where I got it from. And then the Weston McKinney one I got from the team store. So those are the only two authentic jerseys I think that I have. And they obviously feel nice. So
yeah.
All right. Next question, Alex Dono. He says, which would be a better idea for Inter's midfield, signing Arturo Vidal or giving Raja Nainggolan another shot? I'll tell you where I sit on this because I like what Raja Nainggolan's doing now at Cagliari, and he wasn't given a fair shot while he was at Inter. Granted, it was under a different manager, but I like what he's doing. I think he's better when he's not in a complete spotlight. I think Arturo Vidal would bring more to Inter's midfield, especially in the big games. He's the kind of matchstick, if you will, someone to ignite the team when things get really tough. When the rest of the team falls apart, he's going to be fighting tooth and nail, trying to get yellow cards, trying to pump up his teammates. And I think that's the kind of player you need, a little bit of grinta in that midfield to really help you get to that next step.
I agree with you. I like Vidal for all of the reasons you said, but I also like it because I think the difference between Vidal and Nainggolan is that Nainggolan likes to advance and get in positions closer to the forwards. And you have Eriksson there, which I think that's what they're going to have him do. So how do you put two guys in that spot and then have one midfielder behind them hung out to dry in front of a back three? That's a bit of a challenge. Conte's not going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Where Vidal is going to be as you said, a tireless box-to-box guy, and is not going to overly concern himself with bombing forward.
Yeah.
If he said, hey, if guys are in front of me, I'm fine with that. And he's been in environments where he's had to just stay home in the midfield, both at Bayern Munich and at Barcelona.
Yeah.
So I think that Vidal is clearly going to be the better fit than trying to give Nainggolan a chance. And I think that, we go back to when I had Phil Shane on, we had Phil Shane on here a few weeks ago. Phil was not a big fan of guys going back to their old club because it doesn't work it doesn't work the second time around. You can't go home,
No.
I mean, I love Kaká, but holy cow.
Cheba, both of them didn't.
Kaká 2.0 was terrible. And so was Shevchenko. The sequel sucked on both of them. And I don't factor those. Okay. Zlatan's been a little bit better, but I don't factor those into their legacies. Don't get me wrong.
No.
But at the time it happened, it's just kind of like, the magic just isn't there.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Next one's from Sabrina Belmonte. She says, what historical or current Serie A player would you most like to see a documentary on and why? It's interesting. I know what I want to say, but I'm curious what yours is.
Wow. A documentary.
You can't see really behind your screen right now, but it's Roberto Baggio. I would love to see.
I'm with you. Yeah. His conversion to Buddhism,
yeah,
I think would be fascinating.
Fascinating. 94, let alone, but just his whole career.
How he dealt with 94, how he managed his career after that, how,
Time at Brescia with, with Pep and other guys. And
yeah, I like that. That's an excellent shout.
There's one at Maradona, I think, now, and some other guys. Johan Cruyff, I'd like to see another one on him. I know there's a couple of them out there, but I'd really like to see something on him as well. He was an interesting character. Eric Cantona.
She said Serie.
Oh, sorry.
Stay on topic.
Yeah. Oh, well then just Baggio. Let's leave it at Baggio. There, done.
Okay, there you go. Baggio, done. I think there's some others in there. If I can think about them, I can I can come up with it.
Derek says Raja Nainggolan.
Raja Nainggolan would be very good.
Yeah.
Andrea Pirlo would be good.
Critty says Mauro Icardi. Actually, that could be interesting.
That could be funny.
It could.
Pirlo, just kind of bringing his book to life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I think would be unique. So there's definitely plenty. They're the other side of Milan, but I think a documentary on Mourinho's Inter that won the treble. Just how those personalities came together, how Mourinho was able to mold that so quickly, and the things that they did. I think that would be I think that would be a rather fascinating watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are some ideas, but yeah, I mean, Roberto Baggio's at the top of the list for me. I'm with you.
Well, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is from our friend Curdy Smith, and I'm going to paraphrase this first part of the question because I believe this is how we actually meant it. When is Koulibaly going to take a giant step back in his career and join a team like Liverpool? I think that's what he really meant. And the second part is, when is Giannis going to leave a small market in Milwaukee, and where do you think he'll end up?
Okay, he's a prick.
Yeah.
Gritty.
A lot of people are fantasizing about this Koulibaly and Van Dijk possible partnership,
and people are fantasizing about Giannis leaving the Bucks.
Yeah,
I'm going to show you that.
There he goes, dunking on over somebody.
There he is, dunking on.
Is that Critty back there?
Yeah, his nuts are resting on Critty's head. That's Critty, isn't it?
For those who can see this is a sight to behold.
Yeah, I won this in an auction. So I just now got to meet the guy to get his autograph on it. So
you're more than likely to get the poster than you will get Giannis. So he's probably locked up. Well, if he goes anywhere, he's going to go to a club a team like LA Lakers or someone who has money. That's whoever's good at the time.
Yeah.
Like now is Golden State Warriors or Lakers or whatever. But
I love it. If Steph Curry is so damn worried about wanting to play with Giannis, he can come to the Bucks. So no, Giannis is the Bucks are going to try to, this is, I'll just answer that basketball question real quick. The Bucks are going to do everything in their power to supermax him and keep him in Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. If they didn't think they had a shot at keeping him, they would have re-signed Malcolm Brogdon, who they let go to the Pacers. Yeah. So it's a sure sign. They knew they weren't going to be able to afford both of them. So the other sure sign is that Giannis really loves playing with Chris Middleton, and they extended Chris Middleton's contract. Kind of to my dismay, because I wasn't a fan of how Middleton played in the playoffs last year, especially against the Raptors. But it is what it is. So, and Giannis has his guys that he likes to play with, and the Bucks are making sure that those guys are on that team. So they're doing everything in their power, and they're basically doing everything to build the team for them. So,
they're headed to the finals this year if it wasn't for the hiatus, right? So
it'll come back. They're talking about bringing it back, so they'll get back there. So they'll get there. We'll see. So, okay. And let's not forget, and Giannis ended up with a little bit of a knee injury before the games got suspended too. So he has had time to recover. So that's interesting. Now, as far as Koulibaly wanting to destroy his career by going to Liverpool, he's more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
I think, he's going to move on from Napoli. He's probably going to move on after this season is over, whenever it's over. Or maybe not. It might be because there might be such a tight window between the end of the resumption to the beginning of the next season that it's going to be very hard for people to move.
If he moves, I hope he just stays in Serie A, just because I like having such a talented defender in the league that's known for defending, even though we don't defend much anymore. He's such a special player. It's a fun player to watch week in and week out, and I don't want to be tormented by watching Liverpool matches week in and week out. So
yeah, I think he's moving on. It's just a matter of where. There's going to be a lot of options for him. There's going to be a lot of money coming Napoli's way, and we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that was our last question. So yeah,
was it?
Great questions this week. A lot that we went through here. So yeah, it's fun. I thought it was gonna be a short podcast, and it's pretty much our normal time. So
a lot of this was just people talking shit in the replies.
Yeah, mostly critics just talking about Wanda. And
okay, yeah. All right, yeah, I'm looking through all of this now. All right, that's fine. So we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie Sit Down. Time to shameless plug. Richard, have at it.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy as of late, believe it or not. Thanks again to the Milan Weekly podcast guys for having me on there. Then, Frank and I were obviously on the Calcio Connection, so thank you to them. Definitely give them all a follow. I actually went on Sky Bet interview to talk about Schalke Dortmund yesterday, actually, and I'm actually going to be working and collaborating with Deutsche Welle to preview the Riviera Derby coming up Saturday. So it's been really pretty busy on my end, and obviously make sure you go to our YouTube page. We just released vlog 3, actually on Milan. It's whether the curse of the number 9 is real or not. I kind of look back at the last 10 years since we lost Inzaghi. All the players who wore number 9, and is it really their fault, or is it other factors that maybe is a reason for their failures? So definitely check that vlog out. And then, as always, you can find me at R_KHARMAN pretty much anywhere.
Brilliant. You can find me at FTC_21. Nothing for me other than this podcast. I did appear on Calcio Connection with Richard and Alex and Jerry, who are making way too many podcasts these days and are going to run out of ideas. But Jerry's stories are certainly worth the listen.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. And he's very eloquent with his words too.
Yeah.
We should point out. So check that out. Check out the YouTube page, as Richard alluded to. Serie Sit Down. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts. We have our own channel on Soundcloud. You can find us on Stitcher, Spotify, just about anywhere podcasts are played. You can find Serie Sit Down. So check that out. Check us out at Serie Sit Down on Twitter or Instagram. Tweet your comments. Instagram us with your thoughts. Ideas for future podcasts. We'd love to hear them. Richard and I did try to attempt doing a classic Serie A match with commentary and a live chat. We ran into some unfortunate issues when we did that. Those of you that did check in with us, we apologize for those technical difficulties. Richard, we did get the bugs worked out.
Yes, and so we will be doing we will be doing this again, and it will be better. I promise you that. We figured out the bugs, and so we're going to put up a poll and figure out what kind of question, what game you guys want to watch. We'll watch it together, and we'll give you guys a heads up. And we found a good way to do it, and I tested it out, and it seems to work so far so good. So stay tuned for that on the Twitter sphere.
Yep, excellent, and do check that. Do be on the lookout for that. We will put that together sometime next week. We'll send all of the alarms. Also, we have a Serie Sit Down page on Facebook as well, if you want to check that out and give us a follow there. So want to thank you all for taking the time to listen. For Richard, I'm Frank. Thank you again. And as always, make sure you tell your paisans about us. Ciao.